Apologize. I know there's an issue with the overheads today, so we're going to have to try and follow along in a bulletin for this service. So please bear with us with that. Sometimes there are passages in the Bible that can be very difficult for people to comprehend or understand. And for me, the passage in James is one of those. Now, you may be asking, how can the passage in James be difficult? It says to love your neighbor as yourself. It's pretty easy. But let me tell you a story. Every Saturday night at 5 o'clock, I log on to my computer and I do crisis counseling for people who are suicidal, depressed, just needing someone to talk to because they don't think they can go on. And these people range in age from 13 to mid-40s because it's a texting app. So therefore, it's geared to the younger crowd. And every Saturday night, I hear story after story of young children saying, I just can't go on. I'm not good enough. Nobody loves me. There's no reason to be here any longer. My family would be better without me. It's hard to hear. It's hard to hear so many people in this world saying, I don't love myself enough to be here and stay here in this world. As a priest that works with youth, I've heard the stories. I've heard the stories of our own kids, in this parish and in parishes that I've worked before, who struggle with suicide, with self-harm, with depression, with any number of issues that they aren't comfortable talking about even to their own friends. Now, we also hear the good stories about how they've talked to their friends and helped their friend get through that crisis. And we've all been kids, but unfortunately today technology has changed the world of what it means to be a kid. It's no longer Dobie Gillis going out or any of those kind of Leave It to Beaver kind of shows where you go out and play. Today, it's a world where kids are instantly connected to everybody. And so it makes it hard for a kid to believe it's easy for a kid to believe what they hear other people saying. So for me, I propose that we are living according to how James writes. We do love our neighbors as ourselves, but the problem is we don't love ourselves. So therefore, we show each other how much we love them by how much we love us. So to me, we have to figure out how to teach ourselves to love us. And not in a narcissistic way, where you put yourself above everybody else, because then it's a judgment. It's a judging. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a society where we aren't always telling people, you're too thin, you're too fat, you aren't good enough, you're not smart enough, which is what society says to each of us every time we open a newspaper, turn on the television, watch the news, or read a book. The good news of this, and it's hard sometimes to find good news, is that in chapter 3, James says, don't worry if you've got it wrong, because we all make mistakes. I know none of us are perfect. I know we've all been there, criticizing, judging, doing those things that I'm standing here preaching about. I can say I am just as guilty as the next person, but James says we make mistakes and we're humans and we move on. God came down to earth, put on human skin, and became one of us. Jesus lived his life as a human. He encountered the suffering, the hurt other people gave, the ridicule, and the loneliness that we face in society. He came and became human in order that we could be redeemed. It was that redemptive offering of death on the cross that allows us to know we are good enough and that we can love ourselves. Now, this isn't the love of a husband to a wife or father to a son or daughter. This is the agape love. This is the love of God to humanity. The love that is unconditional. It doesn't matter what was said or done. It's that love that you know will never go away. That's the love that we have to have for ourselves. It may be hard to do. It is very hard to do, in fact. But we have to acknowledge that we are children of God, and that He created us as we are and how we are supposed to be. The good, the bad, and the ugly about ourselves. That is how God created us, and we are children of God and acceptable in His sight, no matter who we are. And the good news for us is also that God gives us the grace in the action of God to make us whole again, to make up for those times when we fall from perfection, when we don't feel perfect, when we can't love ourselves. It's a gift that God gives us freely and says, it's okay. I forgive you and I love you. I won't let things that you've done wrong define who you are as a person. It's through those moments when God says to us that we are children of God, forgiven and restored, and that we can fully understand that we're sinners and saints at the same time. That it doesn't matter what our flaws are. That we're able to accept the love of God and reflect that love onto other people. On a Saturday night, when I get done 5 hours or 4 hours online, I never know what's the end result of the people that I spoke with. I don't know whether my time talking to them has truly changed their life, whether they will still do something that evening and end their lives. But I do know that when I get done my shift, I lift it up to God to say, I am working and trying to love others as I love myself. And I can only ask that those people also love themselves. Because until we can love ourselves with all of the things that we might do wrong, we are perfect in God's eyes. And only till we can understand that, then and only then, can we love our neighbors as ourselves and make society truly what we are called to make it.